So Jose Trevino was placed on the injured list with a grade 2 quad strain, and that'll knock him out for a good bit of time. Aaron Boone seemed to kind of hint at the idea that it will be some time without Jose Trevino, and look, he's a platinum glove winner with a WRC plus above 100 on the season at a premium position, so that is going to be a tough loss for this team. But thankfully, they have a backup catcher, or a guy who's more so split catching duties with Jose Trevino, who's really emerged as of late. Austin Wells has had a really strong start to his summer, but there are some key changes he's made offensively that we're going to talk about in today's episode, including a mechanical change that I think went unnoticed by most people watching the games. Before we get into everything though, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell if you enjoy content like this. Turn on that notification bell because it'll keep you posted on our next uploads. And of course, you guys can check us out on various social media platforms like Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, and of course this YouTube page. With all of that ad and plugs and all that out of the way, let's get into today's video. On June 22nd, Austin Wells looked like he was going to put up some ugly numbers in his rookie campaign and first full year as one of the Yankees catchers. He had a measly 77 WRC plus and just 2 home runs through 45 games. It didn't make any sense given his strikeout to walk rates were pretty strong, the underlying batted ball data suggested he should have been getting better, and he is a lefty in Yankee Stadium. There is some sort of home run advantage there, so it made it even more puzzling to see him struggle to get the ball out to right field, considering that that's what he did so well as a prospect. He had a ton of home runs in AA and AAA, and it just wasn't translating over to the major leagues this season. Austin Wells had just pulled 2 of his fly balls over those first 45 games, and I think that was a key reason why we saw some of the underperformance in his results compared to his expected numbers. I don't think it was just rotten luck. I think it has to do with the way that fly balls play at the major league level. When you hit the ball in the air to the opposite field, you're averaging a WOBA, which is weighted on base average. It's an all-encompassing offensive stat, and it's a similar WOBA to what pitchers put up in 2021, which was the last year before the universal DH, and 1 year after we had a universal DH for 60 games in 2020. How about when you hit the ball up the middle, right? You square up a ball to center field, you think in the cages, scoring up, just send it right back up the middle. Well, how about a WOBA that's lower than Javier Baez is in Detroit? In his 3-year career at the Detroit Tigers, he has a higher WOBA than the average hitter this year who hits a fly ball to center field. So if fly balls to the opposite field and to center field are so bad, why even hit fly balls in the first place? Well, that's because when you pull your fly balls, you have a WOBA over 700. And for context, Barry Bonds had a peak WOBA of 544. So you're hitting at a historic level when you pull the ball to right field as a left-handed hitter versus when you pull the ball to left field as a right-handed hitter. There's a huge advantage for the hitter, and it's something that's a skill. It is teachable, and hitters have learned how to do it consistently. Look at Isaac Paredes to the Tampa Bay Rays. He's a guy who has very underwhelming batted ball data, but the one thing he does very well, pulling fly balls, allows him to be one of the premier third basemen in the American League. Now, it's not as simple as just get out in front and pull everything in sight for multiple reasons. Number one, not everything you're going to hit is a fly ball. Pulling your ground balls is actually not good compared to slapping them the other way because defenses are usually better positioned to handle a pulled ground ball than an opposite field one. That makes sense. Also, when you're trying to make an earlier swing decision to drive a ball to right field, thus getting out in front, you put yourself at risk of 2 things. Number 1, more chases, and number 2, more whiffs. More chases, that makes sense, right? You're making an earlier swing decision. You can't track the ball to the plate and let it get deep into the box as much as you would be able to when you're just trying to shoot the ball the other way. And the whiffs aspects come from the fact that you're going to probably be swinging at worse pitch to hit, i.e. chasing out of the zone, or you're just not going to be able to read the movement of a pitch as well as you thought you would. So those 2 variables are very important when you're asking a guy to just get out in front and pull the ball in the air. But in Austin Wells' case, he realized he had both the barrel control and he had the power to take advantage of an approach that centered around pulling the ball in the air. But how was he going to get his timing down and make sure it didn't affect his contact rates or his walk rates? Well, that's with a leg kick change. By going from a more large leg kick to a more quiet one, something more similar to a toe tap, Austin Wells has found a way to time up the baseball better and simplify his mechanics. This extra split second of time is the difference between Austin Wells getting beat upstairs on a fastball and him getting out in front and crushing a ball over 400 feet to right center field. Over his first 45 games, we talk about him only hitting 2 home runs and only pulling 2 batted balls for fly balls. And there was last 16 games where he's really gotten on fire with a 164 WRC plus. He's pulled 5 fly balls and he's hit 4 home runs. So the game power has gotten considerably better with just one small tweak. You can notice this tweak as he decided to do this against the New York Mets in a game where he pinch hit. He did not have that toe tap in the most recent at-bat he took against Charlie Morton in the game against Atlanta. That's the Saturday game that they played, that they won. And you could see there's a fundamental difference in the swing. There's a fundamental difference mechanically. It is a timing thing. It improves the timing. And I think it's a very positive change for him. And one that's really exciting because I think Austin Wells is best when he can consistently get the ball in the air to right field. That's what he did in the minor leagues to establish himself as a top prospect. And that's something he kind of got away from earlier in his major league career. With this surge offensively, though, I'm really excited with the player that Austin Wells is starting to become. Austin Wells is no longer just a guy with a really good bat that you can hope and pray can stick at catcher or experiment with at first or experiment with in the corner outfield. That time has gone. That ship has sailed because Austin Wells has emerged into one of the best defensive catchers in the American League. Perhaps this change offensively is what gets him back to being a highly touted offensive player, but the changes he's made defensively have been there since the start. He ranks top 10 defensively in various key metrics for catchers, including defensive runs saved with 8, framing runs, fielding run value, and defensive runs prevented as well, which all account for different aspects of a catcher's defensive value. They're all encompassing stats, except for framing runs, which only factors in your framing. They measure in how well you block, they measure in how well you throw guys out. Well, Austin Wells isn't a proficient base stealing, or a guy who stops guys from stealing. He's such a good framer, and he's so good at blocking that the value he produces there is still going to outweigh the throwing or the pop time or whatever you want to call it. It's going to outweigh that value significantly. I think he'll work on that. I think that's something he can get better with. Also, the new rules with the bigger bases and the pickoff rules don't help. Teams are still learning how to adjust to that. But Austin Wells being as good as he is defensively gives them a lot more certainty with Jose Trevino being on the shelf for the foreseeable future. I know Carlos Narvaez is a very well-regarded defensive prospect as a catcher, and he's going to come up to replace Jose Trevino as their weak side platoon guy. But having Austin Wells in place to be a guy who knows how to handle a pitching staff, who has caught at a very high level defensively, that's going to be a big boost for this pitching staff and for this team as a whole. If you look at his overall value on the season, he has a 1.6 F-WAR, which is Fangraphs WAR. That would put him on pace for roughly 3.3 Fangraphs WAR if he was able to record 400 plate appearances at this production level. Austin Wells is still 2% worse than the league average offensively, and I think that's pretty important to note because if he continues to surge upwards and can get that number over 100, we could be talking about a 3.5 to 4 WAR catcher, which is extremely productive and immediately becomes a franchise cornerstone for you. The kind of player I want to compare Austin Wells to is what Brian McCann did with the New York Yankees from 2014 to 2016. He averaged a 101 WRC plus with 3 straight years hitting at least 20 home runs and providing an excellent glove behind the dish as well. Austin Wells would likely surpass McCann's absolutely abhorrent base running value, although I don't think he's as good of a defender as McCann was in his prime. Then again, I still think Wells can be around a 3 WAR catcher if he's able to sustain these offensive changes and continue to grow as a defensive backstop because so far he's been excellent there. The kind of outcome you dream on, though, is the kind of player Brian McCann was with the Atlanta Braves from 2005 to 2013 because he had a 117 WRC plus while having unbelievable seasons defensively behind the plate. He's put together such a strong career that he has an outside chance at the Hall of Fame. Now, that's not me saying that Austin Wells is going to become a Hall of Famer or that he's in contention for that. It's more so to say that the profile of having a solid offensive catcher who can play excellent defense is the kind of profile you could build a championship-winning team on. I really do think that Austin Wells has made some key adjustments behind the plate and offensively that could allow him to be a bigger part of what the Yankees are doing going forward. But in the near future, the Yankees need to think about expanding Wells' role offensively as the team has really struggled to generate run production from the cleanup spot. I'm not saying that Austin Wells should be their permanent cleanup hitter. I think they should go out and acquire a hitter at the trade deadline who can fill in that spot. But in the meantime, Austin Wells should get the opportunity to hit there because you have to ride the hot hand. And right now, Aaron Judge and Juan Soto are getting on base without anybody behind them to drive them in. With Ben Rice penciled in at the leadoff spot, which I think he's shown a lot of comfortability and just overall poise there, I don't think it makes sense to try to have Alex Rodrigo stay in the cleanup spot when he hasn't shown signs of turning it around. Austin Wells has the power and the plate discipline to turn around a game with one swing. When the Yankees played Baltimore on Saturday, they didn't win because they went station to station. They won because they went up early 4-0. And that 4-0 lead was largely built off of one swing from Austin Wells. Having home run power is important in the middle of your lineup, and Austin Wells is starting to finally show that. I do think the Yankees will add a bat at the deadline, and somebody that I have kind of championed for now is Brandon Lau, because if the Rays are looking to sell, he's kind of the perfect left-handed bat for this infield. If you were to shuffle around your lineup and you would have a top 5 that includes Rice, Soto, Judge, Lau, Stanton, and then your 6 hitters Austin Wells, I think you have a deep and balanced lineup. And on top of that, you could find the catcher of the future, somebody who's going to be your backstop for the next half decade plus. And that's important because cost-controlled talent is the cornerstone to being able to sign guys like Juan Soto, alongside paying guys like Aaron Judge, Garrett Cole, etc., etc. We'll see how the Yankees handle things with Austin Wells this July, and how they handle things at the trade market, and how Austin Wells himself performs from this point forward. But his key changes offensively are things I'm really encouraged by, and I hope the defense can stick. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. What did you think about this video? Do you guys like these kind of analysis breakdown videos? We'd love to know your feedback. And again, you guys can tweet at us at Fireside Yankees. Check out our Instagram post at fireside.yankees. Facebook and TikTok are the same handle of Fireside Yankees, no dot in between. And of course, you have this awesome YouTube page where we do all these videos. You guys can follow me personally at Ryan Garcia ESM, and make sure to check out EmpireSportsMedia.com for written content for all your favorite New York sports teams. I have an article on Austin Wells that go more into his offensive changes that I'm going to link in the description below. You guys can check that out, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, everybody. Let's go, Yankees.
Perfect.